So Michael has had a long career playing football at the highest of levels in Ireland, and he's also worked extensively in community settings where he's used his kind of sporting profile to kind of work in very much in a community development and youth development perspective, and he's also very proactively used the idea of yoga as a means of engaging harder to reach young people and harder to reach community members.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks very much, Paul. Yeah, look, lovely to be here. So yeah, so as I said, we're just going to go to a very small, just a couple of minutes on a grounding exercise to kind of start the day off in the right way. And yeah, as I said, I would have been a teacher, trained up as a yoga teacher. I would have played a lot of sports and would have brought yoga in through a lot of that, and particularly through my community work over the last 6 years in the inner city. Okay, so just to start, so just get it into a comfortable position, okay? So just sit upright. So if you just bear with me, put your knees over your ankles, roll your shoulders a couple of times back. Let your hands just fall lightly on your knees. With a nice straight spine, maybe chin parallel to the floor. So just from here, maybe if it's comfortable, maybe close down the eyes. And from here, we're going to do nothing else apart from just start to notice our breath. So don't change anything. See how it is. Are we heavy? And then for a second, maybe start to notice maybe the colder inhale and the warmer exhale. And then we're going to just let the shoulders drop and loosen, and let the muscles around our jaw loosen and around the brow. And then we're going to try and, if it's comfortable, we're just going to intentionally breathe through our nose. And just take inhales and then exhales. In and out through our nose, just slowing down for a second. So just for this very quick minute or two that we're in this space, we're just going to try and draw a line on anything that's happened this morning, getting the kids to school, no milk for breakfast, whatever happened, we're just going to draw a line. We're just going to be here for the next 90 seconds, 2 minutes. And then from here, we're going to put our left hand on our chest, left hand on our belly and right hand on our chest. Just take a second to tune into our breath. So we're going to come into some belly breathing in a moment. So keep breathing as regularly. In a moment, we're going to go in and we're going to breathe 2 seconds into our belly, 2 seconds into our chest, 2 seconds overall, and then release for 6 seconds. So it's 6 seconds in and it's 6 seconds out. Okay, take your last regular inhale. Last regular exhale. And breathe into the belly, into the chest. And another two. And release slowly. 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe into the belly, into the chest. Two more. And release slowly, controlled. 3, 2, 1. Into the belly, chest. Another two. And release. 3, 2, 1. Two more. Breathe into the left hand, right hand, chest. And release. Last one. Belly, chest, overall. Release. And slowly let your hands fall back down to your knees. I'm just going to sit here for a moment, letting thoughts come and go and try not to engage. And just to contextualize it just a little bit, that we're in this space in between, there's stimulus and the response, there's a space. So this is what we're doing here. We're working into that little space to make better decisions. Last 30 seconds. As soon as your attention starts to drift, just take another inhale and come back to the moment. And just finish with 3 big breaths. We're going to inhale for 3 and then exhale out through our mouth. So last regular inhale, last regular exhale. So big breath in for 3, 2, 1, and blow it out. 2 more. Inhale for 3, 2, 1, and blow it out. Last time, biggest one yet. Biggest inhale for 3, for 2, for 1, and exhale. And slowly bring some energy back into the body. Roll the shoulders back, blink the eyes open, and come back into the room. Thanks very much, everybody, for sticking with me.
Michael Darragh, that was brilliant. If we could get you doing that every morning, do you mind just doing that every morning for us?
Yeah, one of those things.
Great. No, it just reminds you as to how brilliant it is, and then reminds you why don't we? Well, for me anyway, why don't we do it more often? But thanks for that, Michael Darragh. That's really useful. If it's okay, then I might just while we have you in this minute, just to kind of again just to contextualize it a little bit for the others who don't know much about Irish football, but just that you would have represented Ireland as an international level in basketball, and then in Irish football, play for Dublin again at the highest level. But you found, is it fair to say that you brought, like, learning about yoga practice, learning about mindfulness, helped you in kind of at the height of that career, that you were able to use that to get a bit
Yeah,
of, but it wouldn't have been typical in those days to bring this into the dressing room, if you like.
I've never been typical, Paul. But I think no, you're dead right. Look, I'll maybe speak just very briefly from a sporting context how it was used, and then maybe in the community section. I suppose from a sporting context, as a pretty much a professional football player, I was like, you're always looking for an edge and for those extra little bits you can to be the best. And I suppose for yoga played a huge role for me personally in terms of physically. Initially, it was all physically. I just wanted to get my body better for the next training session, and it took me about 2 or 3 years to really kind of tap into the benefits of how much it did for me psychologically to be in the moment in a game. And it ended up being a huge thing for our team. We ended up bringing into our team into that mindfulness that space. So what would happen, sorry to contextualize for anyone, I'm not sure where people are from, but we'd have like 80,000 people at our games, which is a lot of people, and there's a lot of nerves and there's a lot of energy. And the worst thing we can do is to not be present and not be in the moment. So we discovered this nearly the hard way when we had a huge game, and we were terrible. We were all over the place, and we were too thinking of the outcomes. So it was, for anyone who wants to know, it was the Mayo semi-final in 2016. But we 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 were just hyped up. So from that session onwards, what we did before we got on the team bus to go to Crow Park, we all sat down in a dark room, and myself and one of the other lads, we would have just guided us through like a 5 minute session to bring us back into reality, and bring us back into the moment. So it was a huge thing to kind of ground us in games. And if you ever watch back on the TV clips or whatever of those games, that whenever we got a chance, we'd come together and we'd do a quick little breathing exercise. Like we'd get 10 seconds, not even 2 seconds maybe, and we'll come in and we'll do a quick breathing exercise, bring us back to the moment, and keep us present into the game. I remember we used to look at one of the famous New Zealand player team. They had a kind of trigger, like their trigger to stay in the moment was that they picked up a piece of grass and threw it up in the air, and that reminded them to just be there, like be back in the moment. So it ended up being a huge part of my definitely, and definitely our success with with that team. I think any of the lads will tell you that. Um, yeah. So it was a big part of it. And then I suppose just relevantly here, I suppose to speak about it in the community setting. Yeah, and I suppose look, I used to be a primary school teacher once upon a time, and trying to bring a bit of balance and calm to a classroom, was it can be challenging to say the least. But I suppose, and then I would have worked in the northeast inner city, with Paul and the gang in the Belvedere, and we yoga became a big part of what we did there. So we had yoga in every single school in the inner city, and um I suppose a lot of it was probably anecdotal, in terms of some of the evidence, but I suppose it was always huge feedback that came back to us very positively in terms of the young people we worked with. We also would have done a lot of work in the addiction setting, where I actually went on to like train up a lot of the women who were in addiction to become yoga teachers. So we set up our own yoga teacher training in the inner city, which was one of the most powerful projects I was ever involved in the inner city. And like to this day, there's a lot of women from that project who've gone on, now, and they're full time yoga teachers, and it's given them a career as well as the tools to kind of navigate life. So, I think there's definitely huge benefits from it, and I still have people kind of reaching out, from the inner city about yoga and about yoga teachers, on a kind of semi regular basis. So yeah, I think it's one of those things that, yeah, I think the more you kind of buy into it, and I know it's not kind of passe anymore these days. I think it's everywhere, but sometimes it can be forgotten about it, such a powerful tool in a community setting.
My God, that's brilliant. A lot of our talk yesterday, and some of the various speakers spoke about the idea of planting seeds, if you like, in terms of whether it was in school settings or in youth work settings, that the seeds like this, like you're talking about, how it just becomes almost normalized to be able to take a bit of space, take a bit of time. And I think it's really powerful that as you as a role model, I think you've really helped kind of plant those seeds, definitely around the North Inner City.
And to say, just to finish one 30-second story about planting seeds. So like I was teaching in addiction to people who were in quite a chaotic space, and I didn't know it wasn't like any other class I'd ever taught before, to be honest, in the yoga space. It was quite chaotic, and I didn't know how, they all told me they loved it. I didn't know how much they actually did love it. And then one day I got tagged on something on Instagram, and it was one of the girls in the class, and she basically had put up this post on her Instagram about how much she loved Wednesdays because that was the yoga day. And I look back on her other posts, and her whole Instagram feed was nearly dedicated to how much she loved yoga and how much it had become a big part of her life. And she never said a word to me. She was the quietest person in the class. And then I asked her after class one day, I was like, "Say, I didn't realize you really enjoy this, do you?" And she's like, "Oh, it's been life changing for me." And then that was the seed that started. I was like, geez, you would be an amazing yoga teacher. She had a lovely kind of sense of calm about her as well. So then we ended up kind of getting the money to train her up as a yoga teacher, ended up cancelling that, and then set up a yoga teacher training and got her trained up through that. And it's been such a huge part of that journey. But I suppose it's one of those seeds that we planted that you just have to kind of spot maybe in somebody that it might resonate and flower for you later. But yeah, it's just such an important message for community work about planting seeds. Yeah.